Hero Tombstone in a nutshell. Tombstone will be the next hero coming to Clash Royale. You can find it for free in an event, or you could just buy it for 200 hero coins. It doesn't really matter, whatever you want. But make sure to use code Abdod to support the channel regardless of what you do. The ability is a single use 6 elixir ability. Yes, 6 elixir, you heard that correctly. Pretty crazy, I know. What it does is basically it breaks the tombstone and spawns a tomb queen in its place. That tomb queen is a building targeting giant troop, so it ignores all the troops attacking her. She also, kinda like the witch, spawns skeletons every few seconds in addition to spawning more skeletons on death. Her HP is slightly less than Goblin Giant, so I would say it's not always worth going for. The DPS is higher, but yeah, good luck getting that thing on the tower because it kinda costs 9 elixir to play. What I find interesting is that when a tombstone breaks, there is still a chance to spawn the tomb queen. The window is small, so there is barely any flexibility, but it exists, so it could be worth going for in certain situations. Obviously, this means that spelling the tombstone to prevent it from spawning a queen isn't a viable play. A frozen tombstone can for some reason still use the ability and spawn a tomb queen. Feels like a bug cause frozen heroes usually can't use their abilities. Now since it doesn't directly interact with troops, there aren't a lot of interactions to go over, but I still have a few. Sometimes against miner or graveyard decks, playing a tombstone in the back of your tower is a good defensive play because it basically just covers it up. This does coincide with the design of having your tomb queen spawn from the back so you can build elixir for a bigger push. But what I noticed is that regardless of where the tombstone is played, she will always go to the right side of the arena. And this isn't a true blue, true red thing, it does that on the opponent's side as well. Well, she goes left here cause their right is my left, you get the point. Now why does this matter? It's quite simple, if the queen was summoned on the right side of the arena, she will go right and be far away from the middle, which means it will be harder to kite her with a building since it follows the logic of a corner placement. The opposite goes for when it's played on the left because her going to the right would make her move closer to the middle, in which makes it easier to kite her with a further building placement. Technically, the solution here is that if you want to play it in the left side, just move the tombstone a tile like that. When the tombstone is broken from the ability, the troops locked on the tombstone don't necessarily lock on the queen because it's treated as a different target. However, if you noticed here, some of them are still locked on her even though some other troops exist, and this means one thing. You know how when an expo breaks a tombstone it locks on the tower instead of the skeleton spawned on death? That's because there is a brief moment where nothing exists between the time the building is broken and the time it takes to spawn the troop. This is different for the Tomb Queen as she spawns at the exact same frame the tombstone is broken, so the expo will lock on her. Is she gonna be used in regular beatdown decks like Giant and Goblin Giant? I don't think so. It would be stupid to replace your win condition with a building for a niche ability. Instead, the decks that already use it can find some uses for it. For example, lava decks now have a great response to expo, so that matchup might get more even now. Graveyard decks might find the occasional big tank in double and triple elixir helpful for their pushes. In theory, any deck could abuse it if the opponent is dumb enough to feed a big positive elixir trait to your tombstone, especially in single elixir, but I usually don't like playing cards that rely on mistakes as they get worse the higher you push on ladder. What I find super interesting is that there is a good chance this creates a bunch of new archetypes, maybe even one that uses it as its main win condition. Think for example a regular giant deck that is hyper defensive in single elixir with a tombstone, a witch and some other cards. Then in double and triple elixir they might get the opportunity to build a double giant push and go for both lanes. For King Tower activations, a fisherman can activate just like he does with every regular giant card, but the skeletons will force you to respond more. For Tornado, it is possible only if she was played towards the middle of the arena, which will be more common than you think because of the regular tombstone placement, and again, watch out for the skeletons. Here are the sound effects. So the nutshell videos are not really that long, and that's because it doesn't really mean that Hero Tomb Queen is like not an interesting card or it doesn't have any value, but I think it doesn't have micro interactions, more so macro stuff. So if you want to hear my thoughts on it, you could check the second channel video on the left side, my dudes.